Alright, let's dive into something that's been making headlines lately, the devastating Eaton fire that ripped through Altadena back in January 2025. If you've been following the news, you know this fire was a nightmare, 19 lives lost, over 14,000 acres burned, and thousands of buildings destroyed. But here's the kicker: after 18 long months, investigators finally pointed the finger at Southern California Edison. Yeah, you heard that right. A utility company's out-of-service equipment is to blame. But here's where it gets really interesting: this isn't just about a spark gone wrong. It's about accountability, aging infrastructure, and a system that seems to prioritize profit over safety. Let me break it down for you. First off, the investigation report is a bombshell. It confirms what many suspected: the fire started near an Edison tower due to electrical arcing. Now, personally, I think what makes this really fascinating is the timing. This wasn't just any fire, it broke out during the extreme Santa Ana winds, which basically turned the area into a tinderbox. But here's the thing: Edison's equipment was out of service. Out of service. That means it wasn't even supposed to be active, yet it still managed to cause one of the deadliest fires in LA County history. What does that tell you? To me, it screams negligence. And it's not like this is Edison's first rodeo with aging infrastructure. They've been called out before for failing to maintain their century-old transmission lines. So, when they claim they acted as a reasonable operator, I can't help but roll my eyes. Reasonable? Really? Now, let's talk about the redactions in the report. 8 violations tied to Edison, but the details are blacked out. Why? Because the LA County District Attorney's Office is still reviewing the evidence. Here's my take: redactions like these often fuel speculation. Are they hiding something? Or is this just standard procedure? Personally, I think transparency is key, especially when lives are lost. The victims and their families deserve to know the full story. And yet, Edison seems more focused on defending itself in court than taking full responsibility. Sure, they've offered a compensation program, but let's be real, money doesn't bring back lives or homes. What's even more frustrating is Edison's strategy of shifting blame. They're suing LA County and water providers, claiming they share responsibility for the fire's toll. Specifically, they're pointing fingers at delayed evacuation alerts. Now, don't get me wrong, timely evacuations are crucial. But if you take a step back and think about it, this feels like a classic deflection tactic. Instead of owning up to their role, they're trying to spread the blame. In my opinion, this just highlights a deeper issue: corporations prioritizing their bottom line over public safety. It's a pattern we've seen time and again, and it's exhausting. Here's a detail I find particularly fascinating: the fire ignited just hours after the Palisades fire. Together, they became the most destructive natural disaster in LA County history. What this really suggests is that the system was already overwhelmed. But instead of focusing on prevention, we're left dealing with the aftermath. And let's not forget the human cost. 19 people died. Thousands lost everything. This wasn't just a fire, it was a failure of accountability at every level. So, where do we go from here? Personally, I think this should be a wake-up call. We need stricter regulations on utility companies, especially when it comes to maintaining aging infrastructure. We need transparency in investigations, and we need corporations to stop playing the blame game. But here's the bigger question: will anything actually change? Or will we just move on until the next disaster strikes? That's something I'll leave you to think about. Because if history's any indication, the answer might not be as hopeful as we'd like. Let me know what you think in the comments. How do we prevent something like this from happening again?